fur. Yep. Look at the top.
Sesame Street.
If you need hope, come closer. If you need fire, come closer. He turns the broken into gold, and the dry bones start to move. So in life, yeah, you know.
Welcome to Pulpit to Podcast.
Oh, we're making this shift.
I mean, we have to.
PTP.
P2P.
Yeah,
That's it,
P2P.
yeah.
Is it PTP?
Yeah, either.
P2P.
The P2P is pretty cool.
Yeah. I like it. I don't know. I need some more time to process. But
So what is that when you put a number in there? That's not a mnemonic or like a phenomena.
Dude, you're deeper than where I'm at right now.
Should we do that?
It's just I don't know, man.
I'm dating myself.
I got it. I was there. I was in it.
It's just
That's awesome.
I don't know, man. Keeping it cool.
Pulpit to Podcast.
Pulpit to
Yeah.
podcast.
It does flow. It flows
does,
well.
man. It does.
You got any music lined up for it?
I don't.
I was wondering. I thought
Do we got to
maybe-
change it now? I guess
should have. I do have some things I want to bring up, but not because of
Here we go.
not music. Oh, come on, Bill.
Hey, you know what?
That's hilarious.
Here's your sign.
Here it is.
That's funny.
No, but I get so. I'm just not gonna beat around the bush. I get so frustrated with Pride Month. Like,
You could tell.
suit me. You can tell.
Yeah.
I only have an entire month's worth of those short videos planned.
Do you really?
Oh,
Come on, brother.
I have literally every single day. I will do another one. You mark my words.
Good.
I don't care how many people. I mean, you should see the hidden comments, like
Well,
what happens with Instagram.
Sure.
When people say stuff too, like whatever they'll hide. Oh man, there's like a laundry list. They're like, you're a whatever. You're this, and I'm like, okay,
Thank you.
Sure.
And man, isn't it interesting? I know that this is something we've all talked about before, but isn't it interesting that the word chosen is pride, and that's literally one of the things that God hates.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, it's you.
I don't think it's accidental at all.
Oh, of course, man.
And I don't mean by the people that picked it. I mean by, the Lord's hand in that. He's like, let me just highlight this for you as just overtly not me.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was accidental.
Oh yeah, for sure. In the like sort of anti-rainbow thing, and how it's like almost a rainbow but not quite, and
Right, and
it's
that's
just,
such an interesting thing.
It is
to not add the color, to shrink it down to 6 colors.
Right.
No, I like it, Paul. Say it. Say the thing.
No,
I want to know the
go
thing.
there. No, somebody else, because I feel like we're on different wavelengths at the moment. Go. What is it?
No, I just feel like it's proof that it's like of the devil.
Oh
like,
yeah, for
It
sure.
is, man. I mean, and it's the number of man. I mean, you could go
Of
all the
course,
way into
you
that,
could,
and I'm
yeah.
just like, you know what? It's low hanging fruit. It's too easy.
It is. That I was gonna. Yeah, exactly. It's too easy. It's almost like the enemy's like, look how good I can do this.
Yeah.
I can put this in your face and you'll love it. But the
Right.
Bible does say,
So-
call evil good.
I had a friend. I want to call him a friend so bad, but a guy I knew in high school, and considered him a friend. He kind of took this hard left turn out of high school and all that stuff. And he showed up at an event once, and his T-shirt said Pride Month, and then DEMON all together was the colorful piece of that. And I'm like, you can't. And he grew up in church with me. You can't not know and cannot see that. Like it's just it's insane to me.
No, but he didn't mean it like you're saying. He didn't mean to see it as because I mean that's a thing right now. Is to I mean I've seen some other graphics and things that are like Pride Month, and then it kind of fades down to show that it says demon.
Yeah, in the middle.
In the middle.
I don't know. I don't know what he meant by that, but I know what I took from that.
Sure.
And it's like if you know, you can't unsee it, and that there is a demon of pride, or
Say it.
or. Man, I'm holding it back.
I don't want you to hold nothing back.
Anyways, there is a demon that has infused this, and it is and it's like people aren't even afraid of it anymore. Like they're not even.
They're not.
Well, I'm going to say it that I think there's a demon of homosexuality and a demon of deviant sexuality.
Yeah. I mean,
And I've told people for years that pornography is demonic, and they don't see it that way. Like people don't see pornography as demonic. I truly think it is the biggest demon in our country.
100%.
I don't see 100%. How you
100%.
couldn't. I mean, it's something that causes you to stumble.
Yeah.
In that way.
it destroys every person that it touches.
Oh yeah,
every person.
Oh yeah.
Whether you're the spouse of somebody who's addicted, whether you're the person who's addicted to that, whether you're the person who's on the other end of that creating that, every person down the line ends up being destroyed by that.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Joshua Brum, I think his name Brumfield or Brum.
I've heard the name Brumfield recently. I have met
what context
him. It was.
I've met him, and he was a adult industry. I'm trying to be polite with those words. He was a adult film guy, which I hate that wording. That just feels like soft wording, but still, he came out of. He was getting ready to commit suicide, and he's come out of that and got saved and is now married.
I think I remember. Didn't you speak at something he spoke at or something? Yeah. I remember
think you did. I think you came to that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I've met him maybe twice.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing.
He was ready to he's going to go cash his latest check. He's making all this money. He's got tons of money in the bank. He's like, I'm going to cash this check. I'm leaving all this money to my mom. I'm going to go to the bank, cash this, put it in the bank for my mom, and then I'm going to go kill myself. And he gets to the bank, and the lady at the bank says his name. She was like, Joshua, are you okay? And she could see something wrong with him. And he's like, that was the first time that somebody used my real name in years because he'd been going by a stage name.
Right.
And his whole story was he wanted to be an actor, and that's why he had gone to L.A.
Yeah.
And then in L.A., somebody had approached him and said, hey, have you ever considered this? And, young 20-something-year-old guy.
Sure.
How doesn't that sound fun?
Sure.
Oh, you're going to pay me for this? And so, he talks about how when he first did it, how kind of bad he felt, but yet at the same time, it felt exciting or whatever. But then by the end of it, he just felt numb. He said he didn't feel like a person anymore.
Oh gosh!
And he's like, then he gets to the point. He's like, what's the point of all this? What am I doing? Whatever. And so he's ready to literally kill himself. This lady, uses his name. That's the thing that sparks him. And then he decided to go to church. He meets this woman at church, and he's given up. I remember he said when he first gave that up, he said he felt so dirty that he couldn't even shower because he didn't want to touch himself with. He just didn't want anything to touch him. He just was so ate up over the idea of what he had done. He's like, there's just nothing I could do to make that feel better. Until he goes to church and he meets this woman, and he's like, he feels this extreme guilt that he's like, I have to tell her. I can't not tell her what I've been doing for all this time. So he tells her, thinking she's gonna run off. And then this woman offered him grace, and she didn't run off because of that. And so anyways, now he's an activist against it. But I'm just saying that pornography is demonic in and of itself. And I think that demon of homosexuality it's in the same vein. You have something that is extremely destructive that we are trying to cover, that we are trying to make look as if it is not destructive.
Right. Dude, I tell you, you said something and I'm like, oh, brother, that'll preach. You said that the guy said he felt like there was nothing he could do to make it feel better. I'm like, ooh, that'll preach.
Right.
I had this, I think it was you or maybe Kelly made a reel from, it was the sermon that I preached when you guys were maybe in Colorado. I can't remember. It was the Christmas one with the 3 wise men. And there's a part where I said spontaneously, it wasn't in my sermon or notes or anything. You don't get in the shower, or how did I word it? You don't get cleaned up before you get in the shower. And I was of course talking about how you come to Christ as you are. So it blows my mind that right when you said that, it was something sparked in my mind. When we grand opening day at the thrift store, I'm taking us way off, but then I have something to say about exactly what you just said about the demonic part of pornography. But the opening day, this woman comes in. You know what? Sammy was with me.
Yeah.
And we were praying for people as we left. Sammy was singing to people. It was wild. And love you, brother. And so this woman comes up. She said, I have not been able to leave my house. I think she said, I haven't been able to leave my house in months. And I was like, whoa, what? And she was like, yeah. And God, I really felt like I needed to come here. I live stream your all's church services. And I was like, oh, sister, you got to come in person. And she just very transparently was like, it's very hard for me to be out in public. And then she said this, and she was like, how did she word it? She looked at me and she was like, you know what got me to come here today? And I was like, what? And she was like, you said you don't get cleaned up before you take a shower. And I was like, you know. But so when you said he realized there was nothing he could do, that just made me think about that. But back to what you were saying about the demon of pornography. I was talking to a guy who was talking about how he really struggled with pornography. What's the book? Every Man's Struggle. And he said this blew my mind. This was maybe 6 weeks ago. He said, I was so bad in it, and God revealed to me that when you indulge in pornography, this is his words, not mine. He said, you are actually having sex with demons. And I was like, whoa. Like when he said that, I was like, that's next level spiritual deep. Because if you think about it, like let that sink in. And I know that's strong language, not my words, his. But in that moment, I was like, whoa, that's creepy, you know?
Yeah, it'll change your mindset for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think that's the thing about. I think that's the thing that that even this past Sunday, which I want to get to here in a minute. This past Sunday that I'm trying to kind of get at. I think this is the sword that's in everybody's house. You know. And,
yes.
And I'm not saying that everybody's looking at pornography. Don't misunderstand me there. But I think that there's more spiritual things behind what we're doing than we realize, and especially when it comes to sexual sin. That is something that you have to actively work against, and you cannot allow it to just
be
and we justify. And I kind of brought that up and brought up the AI thing, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But on Pride Month, because here's the thing. I think that the thing that most people think about with I shouldn't say most people. I think the thing that's being promoted is to try to imply that this is about love and this is about relationships and this is about families. And, you know, these are just different people who have a different mindset. And what's happening is, here's my caution. I've been saying this for years, but I will hold to this till my dying breath. They are moving something moral and trying to make it as if it is civil. And so they're saying, you know, if you speak against this, it's discrimination.
Right.
And this is a protected class of people. And we are talking about the way people want to have sex with each other.
Right.
That is a moral issue. That's not the color of your skin, the color of your eyes.
Correct.
You know, your actual sex, you're male or female, only one of two. It is not that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who want to be sexually deviant in some way, shape, or form. And now we're going, that's a community of people. And that's the problem with what I'm about to show you. Here's one that I want to know if anybody has seen this one.
I saw you post that, but I didn't dive into it.
So I saw you post it. Also.
You know what that is, right?
I don't actually. I scrolled through, saw it was colorful, and I saw it was from you, and I was like, all right,
right. So rainbow colors, fur. Look at the top,
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street Pride post. It says Sesame Street. Happy Pride Month from Sesame Street. Join us in celebrating uplifting LGBTQIA plus members of our community. And then rainbow hearts. Now, just help me understand, who does Sesame Street?
Their target audience, guys, that's kids.
Yeah. So children.
They're starting out with the most vulnerable, susceptible. You know, I mean,
why does a children's program need to promote someone's sexual orientation?
Correct. Right.
Deviant or not.
Right.
Why does that need to be? And even if you're going to try, see, this is where I say they're trying to move the post to say this is a civil issue, because what you're going to get is the Johnny has two daddies argument. Right?
Yeah.
What do you do with the kid that has two dads? We're trying to make, him feel loved and like he's included and so on and so forth. But, you included I in that's intersex. So, you guys have and I'm still trying to figure out how they're allowed to have B in there.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just telling you.
Right.
B means bisexual.
It's a contradiction.
I thought there was a whole bunch of genders. I'm just waiting for them to turn on the B's. You can't only be that. You bigot.
Exactly.
And so I look at I told you I'm frustrated with the whole, but I'm really frustrated when Nickelodeon did it years ago. I haven't seen anything from Nickelodeon yet, but I'm sure they probably will. But Disney has their, and by the way, if you try to go look it for yourself, Disney didn't post it on their Disney site. They posted it on their Disney family site. And so it's even better. It's like they take it even further and they go, this is on our Disney family site. Look, and they've got, their own little rainbow color with Mickey Mouse hands, clasping together. And I go, why is somebody who's targeting children, why would you post something about pride.
Yeah.
And that's where I go to. I say that this whole thing is demonic.
Yeah.
And you have you have people who think that they're affirming somebody because they're saying, they would look at me. I mean, right now I'm sure this is going to get plenty of hate on the other end if anybody ever sees it. Somebody's they're going to be, angry at the fact that, there's a pastor who's speaking about this issue and speaking about it so plainly
But it's the truth.
Yeah. Oh, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And what we have right now is not only do we have people not speaking the truth, the loudest voices in this circle are those who are straight lying. Mm-hmm. You have people who are they're wolves in sheep's clothing, trying to look as if they're loving and they're kind and they're whatever. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with deviant sexuality that somebody says, here's what God said, here's what we can see in nature, and yet we want to defy that. And, I love the argument too when somebody says to me, well, if you look at nature, animals, dogs or whatever, and monkeys or whatever, and I'll be like, do you realize what you just compared yourself to?
Right. Sure.
A base animal. Like you compared yourself to something without a working mind and soul. Like you've taken all the human aspect out and been like, look, I identify with that thing.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, what I don't see within that? I will see a male dog jump on top of another male dog. I got two of them in the house. Sometimes I got to swat at them.
Right.
Knock that off.
Sure.
What's interesting though? No matter how much they try, they can't have another puppy.
Right. Yeah.
And they can't adopt a puppy. They don't.
Right.
In that scenario,
they don't have the right instincts.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah. And that's the thing that's happening today. You get there's these promotions of like, oh well, here's this family with Johnny's got two dads. Well, no, that's not true. Johnny's got one dad.
Yeah.
And the other guy is claiming to be his dad.
Right.
But is not. Because Johnny's two dads did not create Johnny. They can't procreate Johnny. Nature proves you takes a male and a female and only a male and a female, and you can't mix any other things. And that's the lie that we're being promoted, is that we have these families and we're supposed to support them as a family. And I say that the church has a much more forceful point to make, which is repent of your sin. Or you are not any of Christ. I'm not, man. We can't tell somebody the way that the desire that they might have, the temptation that they might have. We're all tempted with things that we shouldn't be tempted with. The temptation is not the sin, but when you allow yourself to act on it, that's when it becomes sin. When you're tempted and then you let that go, and that's what we're being told right now is you have to let them do that. You can't tell them that they can't do that. They can't help who they fall in love with. Well, yes, you can.
Yeah,
you absolutely can help who you fall in love with, and you should. And there are plenty of other scenarios that you have to say, I have to control who I fall in love with. If you get married to somebody, you commit to that one person. You might start having feelings for somebody else. You have to rebuke that. You have to run away from that. You have to stay away from that because you committed to be married to this other person.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring up that you can control who you love, and I'm just going to put a future arrow pointing at our sermon from this past Sunday. Amnon totally could have done that. And must,
sure,
right?
Sure.
So, just kind of lay that framework for later, but I'll tell you this, you said something earlier that really stuck with me. Is like, you can't stop pushing against these things, talking about pornography and going with the flow and consuming all of this and what this industry's targeting. They're targeting our children, all of those things. I used a sermon analogy last night with my teenagers, and it was simple. It was, hey guys, who here's been canoeing before? Okay, I got a few hands. Oh, kayaking. Okay, all right, let's debate the merits of each. But the point of the conversation was this: when you're in a river and you are moving upstream against the current, right? Hey, heads up! Spoiler alert: Christ is upstream.
Sure.
You keep paddling towards that. What happens when you take your oar out of the water? You're losing ground immediately.
Yeah,
and that's what came to mind when you mentioned you've got to constantly push against, you're absolutely right. This world will sweep you along. It'll pick you up and it'll move you off the X.
It wants to.
It wants to.
Yeah.
And it'll use every tactic available to do that.
Yeah, amen.
You know, I mean, and you could take that analogy as far as you want. Oh, look at the pretty wildlife, and I take my oar out of the water because there's something exciting to distract me.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you've lost ground again.
Yeah.
And you know, spiritual drift never starts as I'm going to wake up today and intentionally seek pornography. It starts out as the smallest thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just begin to get distracted and you begin to allow other things creep in. You begin to allow, you know, the little looks, the second look, you know, you begin to allow that to creep in and become okay, and you justify it. And next thing you know, you've drifted way farther than you ever intended. So to me, I mean, it landed so well. And this month is a perfect example. You know, if you let little things go, like a Sesame Street post, that's part of the drift.
That's right.
You
that's
know,
right.
And it's not.
It's the nose of the camel thing. Yeah, for
brother.
sure. Yeah.
And it's not just. We're allowing those in sin to do these things.
Yeah.
It's as pastors, as brothers, as believers, if we don't call these things out, I feel like we're part of the problem.
Yeah,
I love the way you worded that the first time, though, when you said that if you take your oar out of the water, you're losing ground.
Yes.
You're not just necessarily drifting, but you're losing the ground that
Right.
you were making.
Yes.
And now you're losing that.
Yeah.
You know,
Man.
As soon as you take your foot off the gas, everybody's like, well, I'm just gonna stagnate, and people don't want to say that about
we want to
themselves.
think that we want to see it as like we're driving a car and we're coasting.
Yeah.
You know, like I take my foot off the gas, I'm still going the right direction, but I'm coasting.
Yeah.
But I think the canoeing or the kayaking, it's a good visual because it's not just that you're not only coasting, you're actually being taken the other direction.
Yeah.
All the work you just did.
The my sermon title for last night was called "Not Coasting."
Hey,
See?
let's go.
Come on,
Let's go, brother, man. Called Not Coasting.
It's divine.
Yeah.
You know, there was something that you said a little bit ago, Justin, that really stuck out to me, and it was, how did you word it? Like you were talking about like the argument of, well, like look in nature, like look what animals do, look what monkeys do, and it made me think about, you and I have used this word a few times over the past couple of weeks, the craftiness or subtleness of the attacks of the enemy. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, you know, we know he's the father of lies. Dude, like stick with me. The first lie there is devaluing who we are. If you look at Genesis 2, God speaks the birds into existence. Yep, let it be filled with birds. Let the seas be filled with fish. Let the land have animals all over the place. But if you look at 2 and 7, it says God formed man.
That's right.
It's almost like you have this image of God's hands, and then he breathed life into his nostrils. There's an intimacy. God said, let us make man in our image.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't do that monkeys aren't made in the image of God. You know, like, I mean, so one of the first lies I would say is not seeing who we are as men and women as special. And I think, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like in creation, like we are different. God made us with purpose, intimacy. He loves us. I mean, I would say God loves his creation, right? But there is something special about the way he forms man. We're not like animals.
That's right. He put within us attributes that we share with him.
Yes.
God has these incommunicable attributes.
Yes.
These attributes of God that we are not. You know, God is infinite. We are finite.
Yeah.
We can never match that one.
Yeah.
Right? But then there are certain attributes of God, things that are of God, that then he told us to be.
Yeah.
He's commanded us to be those, and he created us to be able to be those. So when he says, be holy because I'm holy, that's an attribute that we can share with him.
Yes.
A monkey cannot be holy.
A monkey can't do that, right?
You see what I'm saying? Like a dog cannot be holy.
I was about to say I love my dog, but he can't be holy.
He can't be, he cannot be holy. And you know, the truth of the matter is, even like something, you know, God is love. That's biblical.
That's
God is love.
Amen.
And he tells us that we can be that. By the way, God is light. He tells us that you are the light of the world.
Right.
These are attributes that we share with God.
Yes.
You know, a dog cannot be the light of the world.
Yeah.
He's literally not the light of the world. He cannot shine the light of Christ.
Amen.
Even if the dog wanted to, but he doesn't want to. And that's a whole other thing is, you know, if you think about the loved one, here's the reality. We lie to ourselves. We love our dogs. Y'all, I will talk for my dogs like they're puppets.
Oh, yeah.
They like walk up to me and I'll be like, oh, you want bacon? You wanted to, I can tell he wants some bacon. Of course he wants some bacon.
Yeah, he's a dog. It smells delicious.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, we have this idea that like, and don't misunderstand me, like your dog can be attached to you. And if that's what you mean by love, then sure. But, at the end of the day, like, I don't want to be graphic or whatever, but, if somebody passes away in their house and their animal is there, it's not love what happens.
Sure.
I mean,
instinct.
It's instinct. And, I was reading a story the other day, and I think I even used this as a sermon illustration one time about a woman that she was like 80 years old, and she kept feeding the bears, and the state kept telling her stop feeding the bears, and she could hardly walk, and she put this like flimsy fence up around her porch, and one of the bears one day she goes out. She's been feeding the bears for years, and one of the bears reached up through that flimsy fence and pulled her out and mauled her to death.
Yeah.
And when they came back, they found the bears up on the porch waiting for food.
Yeah.
And they ended up having to shoot the bears because the bears were so used to eating people, human food, and being fed there. They ended up killing all those bears that were there. And it's like she had convinced herself that those bears loved her. But those bears were there because she was feeding them.
Sure.
There was an instinct there. And, God created us in his image is such an interesting thing because later we're told in the Bible, God is spirit.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a body.
That's
right?
right.
That's biblical.
That's right.
But yet, so then you go, okay, then what do we have that we're in his image?
Yeah.
I always say this illustration that my brother gave to me one time, and I'm telling you this one of those things when I say it, I'm not speaking hyperbole. Like, it is always stuck in my brain. He pointed out and he said, look, you can give a gorilla, you can give a pack of gorillas, you can give them a ball, and they will play with that ball. They'll throw it. They'll run at it. They'll grab it, whatever. He said, but you know what you will never see them do? Is organize a game of baseball.
Right. That's right.
You will never see a game of kickball or football or soccer come out of those gorillas. They will not organize.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And I was like, and I've taken that further, and I'm like, man, you can look through the animal kingdom and you can see that. Like, you might have a community, a pack of wolves,
right?
But you know what you'll never see? They won't build a city.
That's right.
A beaver will build a dam, but they'll never build an entire community and stay within that community.
Yeah.
God has put something in us that is of him.
Yeah.
Like, he has created us in his image. He is creative. We are not creators. We would love to say that we're creators. We're not creators. We're creative with the things that the Creator has given me.
Right.
Yeah.
God can say where there's nothing, ex nihilo.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He can say where he can speak into nothing and make something. I can't do that. By the way, Satan can't do that.
That's right.
You might hear people say all the time, like, Satan can't create. He can only imitate.
Yeah.
It's actually not totally true. It's not that Satan can't create. He can only imitate. He does imitate God, but he can't only imitate. But what he can do is what we can do. He can only be creative with the substance that God has.
Right.
He can't go create his own world. He can't go create his own thing. He has to be within the bounds that God created him.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. And so, but there's something in us that we want to do that. We want to do those things that you will not see inside of the animal kingdom because we're made in the image of God.
There was this, one of my theology professors had this awesome sort of story about that. It's kind of ridiculous, but you'll catch the point. It was like God and a scientist having a conversation. Have you guys heard? It's kind of goofy.
No.
And so it's absurd. But with that said, it's like there's like a challenge in this hypothetical thing where God's like, oh, you think you can create? Okay, you think you can make man? Go ahead. And so the doctor grabs a handful of dust, and God says, wait a minute. You got to make your own dust. And I was like, ooh, I love that. But stick with me. Like, once all the things we're talking about, once Satan can convince you that you are like the animals, then you lose what it says at the end of Genesis: bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. A man shall leave his father, hold fast to his wife.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Not procreate with everything that he thinks looks good.
Right.
So like, once Satan can convince you of your not set apartedness, then dude, he's got a toe in you. Oh, well, look at the monkeys, look at the dogs. They do it. Once you're like devolved, and man, that's sneaky. And more people are like victim of that. I will tell you this, back on the porn thing, I even hate saying the word, but dude, even like in my generation growing up, it was like, oh, that's natural. You're a guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's normal. You're a guy. It was almost like
Kirk. That hasn't gone away.
Sure.
You're just running in different circles now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm running in different circles.
That's still there. And you know why I say that? Because of all the couples that I counsel with that are new to faith.
Yeah.
That say, forgive me for you all. Like, if you're watching this and you're like, that's me. He's talking. I'm sorry. But like, that's the kind of like stupidity. Like, people will look at me and say these stupid things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
You don't really mean it. You do know there's sometimes I'll walk away and I'll look at Kelly and I look at each other and I'm like, they do know I'm a pastor. Right? There was no way. But like they really thought I was going to go along with that. You know, like the idea of like, oh, I mean, like I've been okay with him looking at porn because I mean, that's just a dude thing. And I'm like, no, that's a sin thing.
That's a sin thing.
Like, but they don't necessarily see it that way because they've been cultured to believe, well, he's a guy and he's visually stimulated. And so he has to look at those kind of things. No, you know, and my advice to couples has been very often you do realize that the problems that you've had in your sex life are because of the porn.
Oh, dude.
Like you are ruining.
Oh, dude.
And I tell that to teenagers. If the conversation when I used to be a youth pastor, I would tell them like pornography will ruin your future marriage. Oh, because you have created a standard that no one can live up to. Yep. And on top of that, nor would you want to. Like it's correct. There's a whole bunch of nature there that's a problem. That actually goes to the first thing about the sermon. I think this lends itself well to that kind of first point of what we did in the sermon. So for anybody who didn't see that on Sunday, we had a sermon about Amnon and Tamar. And at the end of the day, it really just is the fact that Amnon is the step brother of Tamar, the girl, and he started lusting after her. He just wanted his sister, you know, and that was one of the things that bothered me so much as I continued to read that. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody wrote me and they were like, Justin, I feel like you're going to run everybody off. Like you're hyping this up. Like, you know, this is such a, and I was like, y'all, I think for me, you know, I kept reading
so weird.
Thinking that I was going to like run people off.
Somebody would say that. Yeah.
Well, actually,
hyping what? I mean,
sorry. I think the idea was like, you know, I don't know anybody meant anything of it other than just, I think maybe just the fear of like, oh, people aren't going to come, you know, they won't come and hear the truth because you're making it sound like it's going to be this like, you know, warning, like, you know, kind of warning shot. And I'm like, I'm trying to give you a warning shot because we're going to talk about hard things.
Right.
Hard things.
Right. For sure.
Like, kind of like today.
I get it. Yeah.
And so, you know, my thought was not, I don't want you to come. My thought is I don't want you to come thinking you're going to get a fluffy sermon and it's going to be, you know, this very edgy, pointed, and talking about.
When do you ever do a fluffy sermon?
I don't try. Sometimes
I
feel like sometimes they are. I don't try.
I don't want to get far off of this, but what was the Mother's Day sermon like last year? Do you remember what that was? It was about demons, brother.
Yeah, I remember that.
No, even on Mother's Day, he's like, I'm going to deliver this soft sermon. And he's like, nope, we're going deep. He's
Happy
like,
Mother's Day.
This isn't your normal
Demonic
Mother's
warfare.
Day. Oh, dude, it was great, by the way. It was a great sermon.
Fire.
For anybody that hasn't seen that, go back and find it. But no, there's no soft, fluffy sermons. It's salt and light. Sorry, carry on.
My favorite of those was actually Easter last year.
Yeah.
When, was it? No, it had to have been 2 years ago when Biden declared as a declared National Day of Visibility, Transgender Day of Visibility, whatever it was. And so here we are on Easter Sunday, and we all signed a petition to send to Biden.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was one of those. And by the way, even on this past Sunday, I mean, I saw at least 4 people get up and leave. Now, were they leaving out of anger? Were they leaving because something else? Did they have a kid outside or whatever? Yeah. I don't know, but I mean, I definitely saw 4 like. It was like an evident, like they're leaving and not coming back. It's not like they're going to the bathroom, you know, type of leaving. Yeah. I'm always cautious to ever call anybody out for leaving. So every now and then I see somebody like really huffing and grabbing something, and I'm tempted to be like, I see you leaving, but I've never done it because I don't want to do that. And then like, I got a call from my kid.
The discretion in that case, better part of valor.
But. Right. Yeah. Plus, I'll tell you, I am not a good reader of people like that. The first time that, y'all know him, everybody else watching may not, but the first time I ever met Tom and Cam, I would have sworn that Cam hated me. Yeah. I was like, man, that redheaded lady left out of here, I don't know what her deal was. I think I said that to Ann. I was like, I don't know what her deal was. I don't think she likes me very much. And,
isn't that funny?
And then she came back the next week with Tom, and she was like, I told him my husband, he had to come. And I was like, oh, didn't expect that.
Isn't that funny?
They've been around ever since.
Yeah.
And so, years later. But so this past Sunday, you know, we're dealing with Amnon, sees his sister, starts lusting after his half sister Tamar, and ends up setting up a scenario where he rapes her.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that as I read it, it was almost like it kept coming alive and alive more and more, but not in a good way in this time, which was like, because the word is so distracting that's used. He loved her. He loved Tamar. Mm-hmm. But then it says that that he's all distressed and he can't eat because of what she's a virgin and he can't do anything to her. And like that was the first thing that tipped me off where I was like, oh man, like that's bothersome to read it that way. Like he says that he loves her. And then I started thinking through that. I'm like, man, I desperately want that what he means by he loves her is that he wants to take her flowers, but he's embarrassed because she's his half-sister. But that's not the truth of the day. Like in that day, marrying your half-sister was not the problem. And arranged marriages, that was a whole nother thing, was like, well, maybe he's distressed because he wants his dad to arrange a marriage, but he won't. But notice later in the text, she's begging him and she's like, go ask David, go ask her father, he won't withhold me from you.
He'll set it up. Yeah.
But he still didn't stop. So it wasn't a matter of
Even the Bible softens that word of love, because if you look at the fruit of that, I don't want to call it union, but the fruit of what happened was he didn't love her. In fact, he cast her aside. That's not love.
Right.
So I don't know if this is a translation thing. Maybe you guys with all your computers out here can help me out. But the original language there.
That's what I was just getting ready to pull up.
I'll carry on for just a minute then. We're in 2 Samuel 13, am I right?
Yep.
So in there, I would challenge that. Maybe that's just a word that we've used to associate, but love in this case does not bear that kind of fruit. Love is as you described on Sunday. Love is bringing flowers. Love is doing the things. Love is planning a future that's long term. Love is not cast her out and shut the doors.
Right. Brother, I don't know that I can say this Hebrew word.
Yeah.
This will be fun. Go for it.
No,
we'll make a reel out of this.
But Kirk, can you
let me see.
that?
Where is it?
Yeah.
Can you pronounce that word? I don't know that I could pronounce that.
It'll be fun for us all to try, though. I mean, by all, I mean you first.
Yeah, habe.
Say it again.
Yeah, habe.
Yeah. That sounds good enough.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
But
I'm not gonna repeat it, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
But it says to like, love, flirt, endear, lovable, lover is the ways that it's translated. But but the context there that I took from that, the first thing that I took from that was, see, this is the deception. Like, he loves her, but it's not the type of love that God has for us. It's not real. Like you were saying a moment ago, it's not real. Real love lays yourself down for someone else.
Sacrificial.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's one of the things that we don't really talk about often. I'm actually getting ready to add this to our premarital counseling book. But I love this picture. What do we call when we call people forward at church? We say, "Come to the what? Altar." What actually happens at an altar?
You open up. You bare your soul. You seek something.
Sacrifice.
Go older. Yeah. Sacrifice. The altar is actually a place of sacrifice.
Sure.
It's where something would die.
Yeah.
And if you think about the wedding tradition, what are you? If you think about like a man and a woman who stand up. The woman comes and she walks to the altar.
Yeah, that's right.
And here's the thing. And by the way, you're also making a covenant. And what is a covenant?
Yeah,
a covenant it's not just a promise. It's not just a contract. It is only separated by death. Yeah. That's why we put it in the line. That's why we say it, till death do us part.
Yeah,
because you're making a covenant, and the only way to break that covenant is death. That's the only thing that separates the covenant. And so, which by the way has all kinds of its own implications, but that's the thing. Love is saying, I am laying myself down for this other person.
Yeah.
In a wife's role biblically, that's in submission. She says, I am going to lay myself down. This is one that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. I think that we misinterpret what the Lord told Eve when he was punishing her. He said that she would desire her husband, and yet he would be over her. She would be under him.
Yeah.
I think that to some degree that plays out in that the wife's role is to submit to her husband. And I think you see, especially in the culture today, where women want to assert the authority in that role, and they do sometimes, but they're getting the role backwards from what God
it's
has
upside
said.
down. Yeah.
Right. But again, submission is not something that, it's not like husband should have his wife in an armbar until she taps. Like, it's not that type of submission.
Right.
It's a willing submission, just like we submit to Christ as our head.
Yes.
She's supposed to submit in the same way. What's a husband supposed to do? He's supposed to do what?
Yeah.
he is supposed to lay his life down
Yeah.
to protect his wife, provide for his wife,
Yeah.
treat her as treat her at not the weaker vessel as in like she's weaker, but like a precious vessel, you know, like
The crown jewel.
right?
Yeah.
And so both parties are supposed to lay themselves down
Yeah.
At the altar.
for this other person. That's love.
Yeah.
But see, this guy convinced himself he loves her.
Yeah.
He likes her. He's lusting after her. But what does he really want to do? Well, what he wants to do is something really bad and nasty and awful.
Sure.
And there was more proof of that as you looked forward, because then his friend shows up.
Yeah.
You know, his friend Jonadab shows up, and he tells his friend Jonadab's like, "Why are you looking all sick? Why do you look all wasting away?" And what did he pop off with? He must not have said, "I want to marry Tamar," because the advice that Jonadab gave, I mean,
Was, set up this scenario.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you see what I'm saying when I say that?
It doesn't go into
Sure.
detail about what he told Jonadab, but the fruit of that conversation was let's build a scheme where you get what you want.
Right. It
Yeah.
says Amnon said to him, this is Jonadab. Amnon said to him, "I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." That's all you get.
Yeah.
Right.
Jonadab's advice to that is, "Oh, well, go lay down and pretend you're sick."
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
It's not go petition the king,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
a social norm at
Yeah.
the time.
And reasonable for Amnon. Like
Yeah.
Amnon was in a position, other people could have been in love with Tamar and could not have been in line to marry her. Amnon could have been. Like arranged marriages within the family was the social norm.
Yeah.
Like Amnon was one of, like, it's not like a peasant boy who's like, "Man, I love her, but I could never, be with her." This is her brother. He's in the kingdom. He could totally have that, but instead, go lay down in your bed, pretend you're sick.
Yeah.
And then when you get her all alone,
yeah.
and that's what he does.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's also interesting too, because like you said, I think the word kind of softens that a little bit, because
Right.
he tells him, he says, "Go lie in your bed, pretend to be ill. When your father comes to see you, say to him, 'Please send my sister Tamar to give me food and prepare food in my sight that I may see it and eat it from her hand.'" That's all he told him to do. He didn't tell him to rape her.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we've read
For sure.
But the implication, that's what is to say the implication.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, Amnon is making it known to Jonadab.
Yeah.
I want to do bad things to Tamar.
Yeah, you could imagine that. You could totally see that, and especially like in context, looking at verse 2. We talked about a little bit earlier, where that, like, he literally says that he made himself ill.
Right.
But so you can clearly, and so then when
It was intentional.
yeah, when Jonadab comes in, it's like, "Why are you looking so ill?" Well, look at verse 2. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
see where I'm going with that?
I think that it speaks to kind of what we were saying a moment ago, this deception
Yeah.
of love. Love.
Right.
He whether he was truly thought that he was in love with her, he probably did to some degree. I'm sure that to some degree he's like, "I'm in love with Tamar," but he wasn't in love with Tamar. He was infatuated with Tamar.
Right.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
so
That love was that was ironic.
Yeah.
Especially with the events that are going to unfold afterwards.
Right.
Sure.
But I think that is the danger for us today. When we were talking about pornography earlier or homosexuality, where we can try to redefine love and we can deceive ourselves.
Correct,
The
yeah.
Bible says that the heart is deceitfully wicked, and who can know it?
That's right.
And we don't have a problem seeing this if you put it in a different context. If some guy's choice of love is to do harmful things to a girl, I'm saying sexually, like hurt somebody, we would look at that person and go, "That is wrong. Amnon is wrong for hurting somebody sexually."
Yeah.
So what do we expect him to do? Not do that. But yet somehow if we say there's other things that are sexually wrong, that person it's freedom to do it because, well, they want to. So we look at something like homosexuality and we go, "Oh, so we're supposed to open the door of freedom to say you can do whatever you want sexually there. But what if what I want is to harm people?" No, you have to control that.
Yeah,
And right
exactly.
now, even though I do think this is the next one on the table, right now we would look at it and go, "What if the thing you want to do sexually involves a minor?
Right.
What about pedophilia?"
Yeah.
And
There was a way to normalize that, not that long ago.
Oh, they're still working on it.
Maps
Oh
or something
yeah, about
like
to
that?
say they're still
Yeah,
working
there's
on that.
minor
Attracted people.
Yeah.
That was messed up.
M- Minor attracted people. They also tried to. I think that they were doing a little bit of predictive programming. They were trying to put out a little bit ago. They put out some stuff about clover gender, and then said, "Oh, that was a joke. The Onion put that out, or whatever." There was a young man that was with us that was like, "Don't fall for that," you know. And I was like, "I think you got some predictive programming where you're going, hey, let's trickle this out there and see if we can get them, you know, especially with all the Epstein stuff coming out or whatever. Like, you know, pedophilia is rampant and it's huge, and even in our country, and you know, I mean, between human trafficking, you know, stuff that's already happening on pornography, you know, all of these things are so intertwined. And then what's been coming out with the Epstein files, and you go, I mean, I'm still kind of blown away that I'm like, you mean to tell me we're literally reading these things that indicate that there are people who are eating babies,
Right.
and molesting children, and like, and you have names of it, and somehow y'all have the right to cover those names and redact that. I don't even understand that. I still to this day cannot figure out, like, how come that just gets to happen, and then what? Like, because it's some famous person or some rich person, we can't know who that was.
Right.
Dude,
And more than know who that was, how come arrests haven't been made? Like,
Sure. Right.
where is that? You know, well, they used coded language. Well,
you cross this invisible line of power, and suddenly there's, you know, I mean, this is, we've seen it in movies forever and various things. Like, there's this idea that those that are the elite get a pass, and it's just wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't want to say it's simply historical, but I mean, it tracks, you know, like we've seen this forever. There are a different set of rules once you make it so far.
Yeah.
And that's
Amnon kind of gets that.
Gosh, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say I don't want to jump ahead, but we kind of see that here.
Right. Amnon kind of gets
he
that.
kinda
you know,
gets that.
the son of the king.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
Yeah.
for the next 2 years, nobody does anything to this guy. Not even Absalom, Tamar's full brother.
David's even kind of.
David's mad about it,
but he doesn't really.
he does nothing. Man, that was the thing that just struck me when I was reading this, was like, okay, so here's Amnon, and he's, you know, lusting after his sister, and he wants his sister, and he's totally deceived himself that he loves her, but he obviously doesn't actually love her. And
He lusts for her.
Yeah, and then other people are supporting him in that.
Yeah.
They're not only not against him, like a Jonadab should have been like, dude, hold up. Like, you can't.
You're talking crazy, bro.
Yeah. Somebody tell him, like, you're talking. I love that one. Like, you're talking crazy, bro.
Get up, put some water in your face, bro. Let's do some push-ups.
Right.
You're tripping.
Push-ups.
You're tripping.
You know, Jonadab in himself, like, how do you become known as a very clever man? Like, I don't know. That's the only good thing I could take from Jonadab is I want to be known in this circle
what
of
context
people.
is clever?
That's true, man. I have
What
no
context
idea.
is clever? I mean,
Brother, I got it.
Probably
This hit me
deviously
Sunday. This hit me Sunday, and when you just said it, it made me remember. So I'm ESV. Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimei, David's brother, and Jonadab was a very crafty man. You look at the Garden of Eden in this translation, you know,
crafty.
It says the serpent was the most crafty of all the.
Maybe I don't want to be crafty, clever. like Jonadab.
Not in the ESV translation. But yeah, that's interesting. When you read that Sunday, I kid you not, I was like, ooh, that's bad crafty.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I'm getting ready to pull up and see what that word crafty actually means.
Yeah.
Skillful, clever, wise. It doesn't say negative or positive. I'm wondering if that's the same word for the serpent, though.
In Genesis.
3:1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field.
The same Hebrew word?
Does it? Yeah.
Well, that's
In
what
3
I
and
was
1.
gonna look for.
Yeah. It's wild.
HAKAM.
Hakim.
Hakim.
I'm about to clear my throat.
Yeah.
You know, I want to know Hebrew, and I've downloaded Duolingo, and I've started it, like the conversational
let's
thing.
go.
I
Greek's
years
a
ago.
lot easier.
Oh, dude, I don't know what it is, but like I still have a desire to do that, but I haven't. I'm not there yet. You know, it's on the list of things.
There's two video series you need to look up: a daily dose of Greek and a daily dose of Hebrew.
Okay.
Is it a comedy? It sounds like a comedy.
It should be. That's hilarious.
Is it a comedy?
No, it's a couple of guys from seminary. They literally do like a 2 minute. Under 2 minute video. They take a Bible verse, they read it in Greek or read it in Hebrew, go over the different tenses or whatever. It's like it's a quick little thing. You can do it on your ride to work or whatever and pay attention to it. Anyways, daily dose of Greek. Who's the one that does Hebrew? Is that Plummer?
Well, there's a couple different ones.
Yeah, I think. Anyways, there are a couple of guys from the seminary, local guys, and they have those. It's super helpful. I was not saying they're a joke. I'm sorry.
No. I just thought there was a punchline about to happen there about how Paul can't pronounce Hebrew.
No.
But anyways, no.
I feel like those guys have a chance at comedy, and we didn't even know it.
That's
until
right, man.
now.
Daily dose.
Yeah,
daily dose of stumbling over your words.
And then they have somebody else try to read it.
They're bringing somebody off the street. They're like that guy with a microphone. Hey, say this.
Read
this. We could really get some comedic relief from that. But Jonadab being crafty. So that's the only thing, crafty, clever, whatever.
Crazy. So
that's
mine actually has shrewd. Indicates his cunning and strategic thinking.
Now that
does your Genesis 3 and 1 have shrewd?
That's what I'm going to go look.
It's interesting now that I'm seeing that, I'm rereading that. I'm like, ooh, look at the look at the parallel. Serpent comes, the most crafty of any of the beasts. Jonadab was a very crafty, comes to him with,
think about
questions and then a solution.
Yeah, think about Eve. He's like, did the Lord really say that you couldn't eat of the trees of the garden? And she's like, no, we can eat of the trees in the garden, just not that one.
So mine actually uses
in 3 and 1.
Cunning,
Cunning,
or craftiness.
Yeah.
The serpent is introduced as a creature distinct in its craftiness, suggesting intelligence and cunning. But it's kind of got the same connotation.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll say what you said Sunday. I can't remember exactly how you worded it, Justin. But when you talked about that part, you were like, you got to be careful who you're listening to. You said something like that.
Oh, and that's the thing I'm trying to get at for a moment here is that your heart is already deceitfully wicked.
Right.
You'll deceive yourself.
Right.
And then you will find company that will agree with you.
Oh, absolutely.
There's this fun word here. Company that will affirm.
Ooh, yeah.
You found a word.
That's
I did,
it, brother.
Man.
You found a word.
Yeah.
That's it.
Who will affirm what you want, even if what you want is not good for you and not good for someone else.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that is being presented as love from the other end. Like, we're supposed to love everybody.
Yeah.
Loving someone does not include watching them do something that is going to lead them to destruction.
That's right.
And saying nothing.
Yeah. Do I love somebody as I'm watching them walk off a cliff? Or is the one that's sitting there going like, dude, you got to stop walking. You get ready to fall off a cliff. Who loves you more?
Right.
Like, no, bro, you do you. Keep walking. It's okay.
There was a guy I was working with one time. I don't want to use names. It wasn't that big of a shop, though. So if he ever watches this, he'll probably figure it out. I don't think he watches, so it'll be fine. But, I remember that I was working with something, and there was this, sharp thing. And sure enough, I reached around and grabbed it. I was grabbing around. It's like a tack rail. It goes in the back of a piece of fabric. And you turn it over, and then you hammer it in. And I had already put it in, but it was like dangling around the side. And I'm over here working and doing something else, and I had that tack rail pre-put in there. And sure enough, I reached around and grabbed it and just stuck it in my hand. I mean, it was stuck good.
And it's got all those nails sticking out.
And this guy starts laughing, and he goes, "Man, I saw that hanging. I knew you were going to grab that." And I'm like, first of all,
why didn't you say something?
Not funny. And then I'm like, man, and I remember being, Paul's like, dude. Paul's like, I'm that guy.
Funny, man. How many? Go ahead. Continue your story.
I just remember being super frustrated. Well, first of all, I hate blood. So anything that has to do with blood, kind of gets me. It's like a pet peeve kind of a thing because I hate it. And so anyways, I'm bleeding, this thing stuck in my hand. And then I'm mad at this guy. He's literally pointing and laughing. And I'm mad at him. And I'm like, why didn't you say something to keep me from doing that?
Yeah.
But that would be my point. If I saw my children working with something sharp, I am going to say to them, be careful. Watch your fingers.
Just to put the reminder, you're reinforcing.
Because I love them and I do not want to see them in pain. Guys being guys, that's a different thing.
Oh, I'm so sorry you stubbed your toe, brother. grade.
I know, man,
I'm
dude.
that
It's
guy.
terrible.
Oh, we're playing sports and you accidentally got hit somewhere sensitive. I'm rolling on the ground. I can see where the blood would bother you. I'll hold back a little bit.
I mean, it's only a small
And there's the youth.
illustration
There's
of
the
that.
youth pastor.
Yeah, there's the I
love it.
Dude, well, to be fair, we were playing volleyball last night, and anybody ever see that movie? I think it's like some Ben Stiller movie where they're playing volleyball, and he like jumps up and hits this girl, and it like spikes her right
yes,
in the
of
face.
course, yeah.
Something like right before a wedding and black both her eyes. That was me last night, man. I have fully had a cranial. We were playing volleyball, and one of my teenagers, yet to be unnamed. I'll totally dime him out here in a minute. Yeah. But spikes this ball and hits me directly in the eye socket and just throws my hat off and whips my head around. And I was just like, I had that.
And
coming.
he was laughing.
Shattered
He was
orbital.
everybody, orbital lobe just destroyed.
See, this is the problem when you laugh at others. You kind of call it on yourself.
Yes, so I'll do my best to rein it in, but there's just some dumb things that students do that make my job totally worth it. So, anyways, I'll leave that there.
That's classic. Yeah.
You know, so we've kind of derailed a little bit, but I'll come back to say, like, somebody, like a friend who loves a friend will warn them, especially when big things, you know, if you look and you go, man, we see something coming, we see something happening.
Yeah.
You want to warn that person. And so, you know, here's this guy who thinks he has a friend because his friend is affirming what he wants and actually helping him to accomplish it. Yeah. And again, I just, here we are in Pride Month, and I go, man, I cannot help but look at all of the affirming churches. Oh yeah. The affirming, communities and that's the whole thing about Pride Month is get behind this sexual deviancy. And then not only is it enough for you to say, okay, we'll allow you to do that, will allow you to have a parade or to do this or that. That's not enough. What do they want next? No, affirm me. Tell me that it is okay. Tell me that I'm, a part in some way. Yeah. It's not just let me do what I want to do. Yeah. It's tell me that you're good with it.
And it's always drift. It starts with love, which sounds great. Yeah. It's a soft approach. Hey, I love, therefore these things happen. If you affirm, that's an entry point to allow other things, because anybody that has ever raised kids or any analogy could land here. But if you give an inch, right? Give a mouse a cookie, right? Yep. So if you give a little bit, there's always going to be more that's taken. Oh, let's just affirm it. That's okay. Sure. Right. And if we affirm that behavior, we can bring them in the church and we can save them. Yes. No. You don't affirm. You call those things out. You speak truth in love. Yeah. Truth first. So what Amnon's doing here is love, right? So he's giving this perception that I love her, and we know the end of the story. We know that he doesn't actually, but one tactic that we have as believers is, run your decisions through this tool. Does this glorify God? Right? He can't. There's no way that he could process that himself and say, yes, this glorifies God in any way. Yeah. But also, I'm gonna take a step back for just a minute. I was in real estate for a good while, and one of my mentors in that, he was my broker for a while, he used to say this thing. He goes, if you want to know the answer to something, you up the ante. And at first I was like, I don't understand. He's like, okay, well, just, would you steal a pack of gum? Well, no, I'm against that. But he goes, but have you? I'm like, yeah, I've stolen things in my life, whatever. He goes, well, what if you found some money on the ground? If it were, a dollar bill? Yeah, I would totally pick that up and not even blink. He goes, well, what if it were $100? I might look around and see if, that person's close by, or if it fell out of their wallet. Sure. He goes, what if it was a box of $1 million? And I was like, absolutely not. I would try and find the home of that.
Speak for yourself. I'm like, look at this box of money.
I know. Maybe that was the wrong analogy.
Thank you, Lord.
But if you ever up the ante and you ask,
I totally get it.
What would I do with those things? Sure. And that can apply to any situation. If you up the ante, it'll give you the real truth of the matter.
Yep.
Right. And that's
a good point.
Yeah. And that's what I think Amnon didn't do. So he disguised his own emotions with love. Yeah. He listened to those in his circle that fed him bad information. So heads up, pay attention to your friend circle. Oh yeah. And lastly, he didn't look at the far-reaching consequences, which, it's easy to say, hey, you're blinded by love, you're blinded by passion and all these things. The truth of the matter is, no, you knew. Like, there's no way you can't know. Like, your spirit convicts you of wrongness. Mm-hmm. You had to know. So, and he didn't up the ante. he didn't glorify God, and at the end, the sword was still in the house of David, and and this was all part of a bigger plan as well. I don't want to take away from that, but
man, I think what you just said though, there's a good point there to say, because I say this all the time to hundreds of scenarios. Like, what do you want to come from this?
Sure.
I'll do that a lot, especially when I'm.
Where is this going to go?
Yeah, with like, what
are you trying to achieve?
This is a good one for you pastors that are counseling with people when you end up in that scenario where you've got a couple of people that are fighting real hard and you're in a marriage counseling situation, and then you every now and then I'll get that one where I get a husband that will call me. We'll get in a you need to call me when you're in these scenarios or whatever, and they'll do that. They'll call me, and I'll let them just vent, and then I'll go, all right, and what do you want her to say when you say that?
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want to come from that?
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a big eye-opening thing when you have to pause for a second and go.
Yeah.
I remember one guy was like pacing around in my front yard, and I'm on the phone with him, and he's just going off. I mean, he's just she's that. I'm gonna let her know. He's doing the whole thing. I mean, it almost sounded like the Yosemite Sam.
Right?
Like, he's over there.
Yosemite Sam.
got his guns in his whole.
I mean, he's just going off. This
little
whole
red
thing.
mustache firing off. Yeah,
and I remember he got done, and I was like, and I think I even said, I was like, "Are you done?" Like he was really going, and I was like, and how do you think she's gonna react to that?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh man, she's gonna be irate. She's gonna be this. She's gonna this." And he gives me the whole thing because she's crazy, because that's what it always is. Oh, you know that one.
Oh yeah.
When you're dealing with divorce, he's like, "Oh, she's crazy. She's gonna do this and she's gonna do that." And then when he got done, I was like, "And is that what you want?
Right?
Is that what you want out of this?"
That's right. That's right.
If you just stop for a moment in any scenario and ask yourself, "Is that what I want?
Right.
Like, what's the consequence? What's the reaction of this going to be? And is that what I'm really aiming for?" And when you think about here with this guy, with Amnon, like, okay, man, what do you want to come from this?
That's right.
What happens next?
And notice that both of those scenarios, there's acting out of a sort of a heated, a heat of the moment response, right? Like in your story, it was like he was heated up angrily, and Amnon was heated up lustfully. Yep. And it's a reaction to.
Oh man, that's a good point.
Yeah, dude. And I'm going to tell you, bro, the whole time I just feel like the Holy Spirit reminding me, dude, what's the last fruit of the Spirit? It's the one that people tend to forget: self-control. Right?
I don't know anything about that one.
That's right. We love the first five, right? Like love, joy, peace, patience. Well, a lot of people actually, when I get to patience, like I've literally had somebody be like, "Yeah, I don't have that," and I'm like, "Well, you don't. You have it. He does. You just don't. And it's the fruit, right? right. Yeah, but we're like, yeah, love, joy, peace. But then the last one, self-control. That's when it's like, ooh, ouch, But man, dude, and I by the way, the what are you trying to achieve thing? That's words of wisdom across the board. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to like text somebody a response. Oh yeah. And I'll look at it and be like, what do I think's going to happen here? Yeah. And so then I like erase that. That's advice for anybody out there watching. Like if you're in the middle of like a heated moment, pause.
Now I will, one caveat though, there have been some scenarios where I'm like, this is how they're going to react. Like I'm doing it in a positive way. Like, what do I want to come from this?
Sure.
I know this person. Okay, they're going to be good with whatever. And then they shock me with, being totally on the other end of that. And I'm like, well, bad judge of character.
Yeah. So I tried, and yet.
But back to my original point. Like, Amnon totally, his actions were in a heated moment of lustful.
That's the word right there. See, I'm really locked into this. What bothers me about this is they use the term love. Was it really love? Mm-hmm. Because the connotation of that is, God is love, and they're distorting love. This wasn't love. Yep. This was not love. This was lust.
Right.
Yeah,
that's all this was.
Yeah, and I think when I read this, it is sort of almost like, and you said a little while ago, Justin. Like you could almost imagine Amnon almost like thinking he loved her.
Right.
But
where was this going to go?
Right.
And
that's for the fact that he was the firstborn son of the king. Yeah. Therefore, he had a different hierarchy. I mean,
sure,
inheritance, all that
different
other stuff.
set of rules.
Totally. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there comes into the power play.
Yeah.
And Bill, to your point, that's what I'm saying about the whole. Like your heart will deceive you.
Yeah.
I think Amnon, probably in his mind, he would have described as, I'm in love with her.
But I love her.
Right,
Yeah.
but I love her. Like, I love her so much,
Yeah.
but he doesn't love. He's got a distorted view of love. And that's what I'm saying about us today. Like, I think we can end up with a distorted view of love, convincing ourselves that this thing that we're doing is love. I mean, goodness, think about it. Even sex, we call it making love.
Right, yes.
But yet, some people who will use that terminology, they're certainly not loving the other person.
Right, for sure.
They're Amnon. They want to do to her,
Yeah. And isn't it interesting as we're talking, isn't it interesting that when she comes in, he straight up asks her, as you were talking, I thought about this in a different way. Like, come lay with me. Maybe in his mind, in that moment, he thought she'd be like, okay. And then when she resisted, then the love turned into something different. Like
then it was lust.
It was never love, but in his mind,
the self-justification phase.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I'll jump in on something real quick. So Amnon had real physical ramifications of his sinful desires. It says he was sick.
Yeah, tormented.
Your sin could make you bodily sick. Your desire.
Oh, dude, yeah.
That people associate with love. He was trying to soften the blow. But at the end of the day, the Bible's clear on this part, I believe. And I don't have it up in front of me, but he was physically ill, so much so that other people noticed.
Yeah.
When your desire to sin, you ask, what do you really want? You really want to sin so bad, it's making you sick.
Yeah.
Guys, that's not an everyday kind of desire. You could paint any temptation into that box. Well, hey, I really want to drink so much. I really want to smoke so much. I really want access to pornography so much.
Yeah.
I will do anything. And I've had people, testify to that they'll say, I can't, whatever. I can't stop. I can't, whatever. And the desire to sin can be so powerful that it will make you physically ill. What is the deliverance from that?
Yeah.
Christ and the truth alone.
That's right. Yeah. The whole time you're talking, I'm just thinking about I'm like, yeah, man, that heaviness is the heaviness of a worldly burden. Right? Like that is, I mean, that but speaks right into what Christ says, like this world offers us heaviness, the worldliness of this world. Like, dude, going back to what I said a little while ago when I was growing up, the P word's okay. You're a boy. That's normal. Dude, there is a heaviness associated with that. There was never a moment where I looked at something that I shouldn't have, or did something that I shouldn't have, where I felt light. You know what I'm saying? And back to Amnon, look at what happens after he goes through with it.
Yeah.
Dude, it says, I'm not right on the verse, but like he hated. Doesn't it say that?
Yeah. It says he hated her. It says the hatred that he had for her was worse than
Isn't it interesting?
So wait a minute, was that love?
Isn't it interesting that in verse
Remember,
1, right? That's where I'm going with that.
And
isn't it
now
interesting?
Here's where we go.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it interesting the contrast? It starts off as love. He goes through with it, and then hate.
Then it's hate.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. Yeah, that's wild.
And the point that we made on Sunday to that is,
then Amnon hated her. Sorry, Justin.
it's fine. But it's that you're never satisfied.
Yes.
The eye is never satisfied. Gratifying the flesh will not satisfy this. In some cases, if we go back to the pornography illustration, and I even talked about this on Sunday, you can scroll through 1,000 pictures.
Yeah.
And tomorrow you'll want to scroll through 1,000 more.
Oh, yeah.
It will not satisfy.
That's right.
We even had a few persons coming for decisions at the end of service who were struggling, and pornography was kind of a topic there, and several of those. And, that was a point. It was like, even then, even after they'd heard it, and even after I'm looking to my right in the face, and I was like, and where's that getting you? You keep looking, you keep doing the same thing, but it never fills you up. The eye is never satisfied with seeing. And it goes the other way, like what we saw with Amnon. So on the other end of that spectrum, he goes through with it. He rapes his sister Tamar.
Yes.
And then what happens? is he gratified? Does he feel like, okay, I love her now? No, and now he hates her. It says that the hatred which he had for her is worse than or more than the love with which he loved her.
Yes.
You know, like he hates this woman. He sees her and he can't stand to look at her. But how many people are suffering that very same thing with some other sin that's not,
Yes.
you know, they
Oh my gosh.
raped my sister. But my point being that all of those things, worldly things, all of them, name any of them, they actually do not gratify you.
That's right.
You think that they will, but it will not bring you peace. It will not bring you joy. It just leaves you hungry for something.
Brother.
You know.
Dude, the parallels that are coming to me right now are blowing my mind right now. I'm over here like, dude, like we were talking earlier about the garden. Mm-hmm. It says that Eve saw that the fruit looked good.
Oh, yeah.
The crafty one talked her into it. Mm-hmm. Dude, she said it looked good, ate it. Dude, look at the results.
Yeah,
death. Then they were
then
they were ashamed. Then they so stick with me, dude. Before the fruit, it literally says that they were naked and unashamed.
Yeah,
dude. All of a sudden, they eat the fruit. Then they look at each other and they're like, "Whoa, something's off."
Yeah. Now they're ashamed at the thing that they once were not ashamed.
Yes, of. Dude. Amnon, I love this woman. He, I hate to say the word, rapes her, then hates her. Mm-hmm. The crafty friend is the one that like said, "Hey, do this."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's crazy. Both scenarios, right? Like, who did Eve listen to? Who did Amnon listen to? Man, emotions, a bad voice that wasn't from God, a crafty voice, and then the repercussions were, dude, guilt, shame, death, hate. I mean, that's just crazy. The parallels. And I also saw this in verse 17. So at the beginning, you know, his friend Jonadab comes in, but then in verse 17, after the act, he calls the young man who served him in and said, "Put this woman out." So at first, there's like a friend who like kind of helps him do it. Then afterwards, it says he hates her with a great hatred, and then calls somebody else and says, "Get her out of here." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think about like the results of all this. But speaking of what you were saying, like it will. Man, that's the great lie of the enemy, dude. Like to trick you into committing something that ultimately leads you to guilt, shame, hatred, death, in a moment that can make it seem good.
I bet you Amnon would have said a week earlier, he would have said, "I could never hate Tamar."
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
I could never hate Tamar.
Bro, he probably would have said it that morning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
And so, but this is the destructive path of sin. This is what when Jesus says, what does he say? Narrow is the way of righteousness, but wide is the path.
Yeah.
Wide is the way of what? Destruction.
Yeah.
Like the thing that it leads you to is destruction. That's the broad way which I've always thought it was interesting that in every city we have the broad way. And that's what Jesus said is Broadway is broad is the way to destruction. Mm-hmm. So I'm always like,
what usually winds up on Broadway?
I mean, I'm just like I'm like, how do we
bank?
Jesus.
Did you say evil?
Yeah.
I just always thought that was interesting. Like, why do we have a Broadway in every single city? And Jesus said, "Broad is the way that leads to destruction." I've always thought that was interesting.
I had a conversation even last night with my wife. She was talking about being in production, in acting and stuff in college, and she's like, where does that lead? Other than like a very few Christian circles, like the two guys that do skits or whatever, like acting. And nowadays we've got some studios that are promoting the biblical voice. But she goes, what's LA? What's Broadway? It's acting. Where does that lead?
Yeah,
nowhere good.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, y'all know this, but I was a gymnast, and so I was on my way to the Olympics. Man, I was, the whole plan was when Justin turned 16, he's going to be in the Olympics. And, that would have been the year 2000, and so I'm going to be in the Olympics in the year 2000 as a gymnast, and I quit. And when I was like 14, I quit, and then that was kind of a big deal in the family, and at least to my mom and dad and me, it was a big deal, and because I was going to be the one to go to the Olympics. And anyways, my whole life, I'm like, man, I could have been in the Olympics. I could have went to the Olympics. I'm like thinking that kind of in my head. And then recently, I don't know, within the last 5 years, I learned about like Olympic Village and what goes on there.
Right, yeah.
And, this, I think that the whole thing started a few years ago. Some country had like these cardboard beds that were supposedly supposed to keep from some of the bad things that, go on.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I was like, it totally makes sense. Like now that I'm older and I can think through that, I'm like, that totally tracks.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't go to the Olympics.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think the Lord kept me
Kept you, yes.
from that wickedness that I would have been right in the middle of. I mean, in my mind, it's all about the sport, but there's so many things around it. I think same thing with like acting.
Yeah.
Can there be good inside of acting? Sure.
Yes.
The thing itself is amoral, but the stuff that surrounds it is, it's bad.
Yeah.
And so I think to the point of, Amnon hating Tamar, he's not satisfied because sin will never satisfy you.
Yeah.
Pick any sin and you will not find satisfaction there. That's why Jesus tells us that. He tells us that there's freedom. That was the word that kept being repeated after Sunday morning, which, by the way, after what I walked into, I mean, we were in prayer meeting Sunday morning. I'm like, guys, I need y'all to pray for me hard. Like, this is a hard text to stand up in front of 400 people and talk about a brother raping his sister.
Yeah.
And, I'm telling you all the amount of deliverance, the emails, the messages, the people who came forward. I mean, there was a moment, and I said this. We were down near the front, and I looked at somebody. I don't remember who I looked at. One of the people there with me, Kelly or Keith or somebody, and I looked over, man. I said, "This is proof that the Spirit moves where He wants to move."
Yeah, amen.
Amen.
And I will just back you up, brother. There was a move.
Yes, there was.
I mean, I can't even go into the conversations I had on Sunday,
there was.
But brother. It was unexpected
It
because
was.
it's a hard
It
team.
was.
It was incredible.
It was. Yeah.
I mean, I would have, if you would have, again, I say this about other things too, but if you were to say, all right, what's the sermon that you feel like the Spirit's going to move in?
I wouldn't have been 2
wouldn't
Samuel
say-
13.
It would not have been that.
Yeah.
I mean, at all. I'm telling you, I would have looked at the Bible and been like, not that one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Man, doesn't that just speak to how the Holy Spirit does His thing when He wants to?
And doesn't it speak to the whole counsel of God when the Lord says that all Scripture is breathed by the Lord and is profitable for reproof and for doctrine, for correction? And I look at that and I go, I just would have never in my brain thought that story could have brought that level of conviction and that level of deliverance. That was the other thing that was so shocking. I know I'm watching the time as well. I'm a little concerned, but if it beeps at us, we'll have to piece it together.
Yeah.
But the other thing that was so shocking to me was from the side of women who have been harmed.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes,
I was so cautious going into this we've talked about the sin side of it here. There's a whole nother aspect of it of somebody who's been victimized. And by the way, I say women, but that's not even Sunday night, I had a conversation with a man who had been victimized and when he was a child. And so there's a tragedy of people who have suffered at the hands of someone else and so in my mind, I was so fearful that this sermon was going to be this crazy offense to those who've been victimized, to those who've been raped or molested or harmed by some man or some person. And it was actually the complete other way around.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, I can't tell you how many women came forward at the end, and every account that I heard, everyone was the same thing. Like, the Lord validated me today, or the Lord delivered me today. The word that we kept hearing over and over was freedom. Like, the Lord's bringing me freedom through this. And I'm like, that's a work of the Holy Spirit that you cannot create on your own. That the Lord would take this story of Tamar and what she suffered. And I'd made the point about Tamar. She tore her coat.
Yes.
It says that she took her coat and she tore her coat. And I had made the point. And honestly, I didn't even plan to really say it. I'd read it, I'd thought it, but I did. I said, and I do that, I guess, often. I don't mean to, but it was in my head to think about, a lot of times, especially when a child has been victimized, when they've been hurt, that they will kind of self-destruct. They'll end up cutting, they'll break things. You end up with RAD, reactive attachment disorder, these sorts of things that happen because somebody's been molested or because somebody's been harmed. And And Tamar, it stuck with me that Tamar, like the first thing that she does is she takes the coat that her dad gives his virgin daughters. She didn't choose to lose her virginity. This isn't like a guilt and shame, like she went out and seduced a guy that she really liked. You know, she wasn't like Potiphar's wife here. You know, and like Potiphar's wife, you know, if she had got what she wanted and then out of guilt, like tore her clothes, something that this wasn't something that she had done. Tamar didn't want this, and yet, when the first thing she does when she comes out of, she tears her coat, which I know is a sign of mourning in the Old Testament. I get that, but I just think there's a relation there that says there's this kind of thing that happens with human beings that when they've been harmed, especially it seems like the worse that harm is, the more there's this kind of like self-destruction that happens. And I'd said that in the sermon, and I had multiple ladies come to me and Kelly and tell us that, like, that was me. Oh yeah. You know, I was, this happened when I was a kid, and then I started doing this. I started cutting, or I had thoughts of suicide. I attempted suicide on several occasions because of something that happened to me. Not something I did, but something somebody did to me. Yeah. And I feel like, again, one guy's opinion, I just feel like the Holy Spirit worked in that in such a miraculous way that here I am thinking that I'm going to read this and preach this, and that there's going to be this great triggering offense of like, I can't believe you brought that up on a Sunday morning. And instead the Lord used that to deliver these women from shame and guilt and anger that they'd been holding on to for years. And to say, I mean, I heard this all morning. I have never heard anybody go over that. I've never heard anybody go over that, but more than going over it, I don't think I would have ever guessed that the Holy Spirit would have worked in that. In my mind, I wanted to survive that sermon. Like I wanted to I just want to get out of this unscathed. And instead the Lord was like, I mean, it's all over Facebook. There's like 20 or 30 people getting on Facebook and like, church today, I've never experienced something like that in my life. And I'm like, from 2 Samuel 13.
That's right, man.
You know, I think that just bolsters us as, you know, don't shy away from the hard conversation. Like, everything in you, even to the point where you were seeking the elders to pray that our church and yourself personally would get through this sermon, everything was saying, don't do this. You know, but we're called to do this hard thing, to not coast. You know, we're called to charge ahead and keep your oar in the water. And
that was the difference between listening to the Spirit and listening to culture and what's going on around you. You know,
everything else says you want to be soft, you want to be gentle, you want to be accepting. No. You want to deliver the truth in love. You want to deliver the truth.
Man, and the Lord worked through that. I don't want any way. I hope none of that sounded prideful, because none of it's a matter of what we could do.
Correct.
I mean, again, on my own strength, I was like, I want to skip this chapter. Like, I just don't want. I could only find one other person who's preached this. It was Alistair Begg. And he's good. He had preached it on like a Sunday or a Wednesday night. And he opened his sermon saying, he was like, this is a very tough chapter. We're committed to go all the way through the Bible, and so we are going to go over this chapter. Let's try to get through this tonight. Like, that's how he opened his sermon. Is like, let's just get through this.
Get her done.
So you know, shocking move of the Holy Spirit. But also, you know, I thought it was a beautiful thing that what I was the most concerned, like for the guys that are struggling with sexual sin, or I shouldn't just say guys, the person that's struggling with sexual sin, to have your eyes open and feel conviction that there's a sword in your house, that there's a danger in your house. I want that. I don't want to cause unneeded offense to somebody who's been harmed, and somebody who doesn't necessarily, well, not necessarily, somebody that doesn't deserve that. You know, you don't deserve your pastor standing up in front of you and you know, causing you to. I used to say when my wife died and people would like, sometimes they would say stuff to me, I'd go, you're trying to make me cry right now. I would tell them that. I'd call it out. I'd be like, you're trying to make me cry right now. I know what you're doing, you know, like, and you don't deserve that. You don't need your pastor to stand up here and make you cry, you know, not in that way. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to be so cautious of that. And the Lord just delivered in such a way to say, man, here were these ladies who had been harmed, and they are feeling freedom by hearing about Tamar and what happened with Tamar. And they were feeling, you know, we walked out of that with them saying, I mean, I'm telling you, I had one lady like high five me, and she's like, freedom, and I'm like, all right, let's go, right? Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So, guys, I think I'm going to cut us off because otherwise the camera's going to do it for us.
It is?
It's probably. I mean, yeah, we're at about an hour and 25 minutes.
Okay.
And I started before, so it didn't cut off yet. So right now, if it does that, I would leave it. I would be like, well, there's the end.
That's the end. Yeah.
All right. Well, man, I'm so glad we got to do this. One last thing to say: we almost didn't get this week. We're late, to this
late
week.
In the week. Yeah.
But I'm glad we got to come together. The four of us got to come together because otherwise, I was early in the week. I'm like, oh man, like we just can't get there. Schedules can't get there. So I was a little disappointed but I feel like better late than never. And I'm glad we got to sit down and talk through this today. And, so I hope you guys will join us next week. We will be back again next week with Pulpit to Podcast.
Pulpit to Podcast.
I like it.
All right. See y'all.
Off the pulpit, off the cuff, got a loud little faith in a holy enough. Podcast on, truth goes live, talking real life while the soul stays alive. Salt on my tongue, light in my hands, try to dim it down, but it's still gon' stand. No polished face, no church suit show, just grace in the room and a God who knows. If you need hope, come closer. If you need fire, come closer. He turns the broken into gold and the dry